Hi, welcome back to The World, season 2022. I've only been on the cast since 1991, but these last 30 years have been the most interesting, especially the massive revelation that
love is blind.
It's been proven hands down by a Netflix show that documents sheer chaos for several weeks and results in less than half the couples getting married that love is blind. I've been watching the show and the reunion just aired on Friday last week, so I am ready to talk about it. I have so many thoughts, especially on the revelation that another spin-off show is coming out called The Ultimatum, which also puts people through deep emotional stress and forces them to make a major life decision. And this got me thinking, is finding love on reality TV ethical? So today, I'm exploring the chaos of reality TV love, spoiler-free. I'm going to keep the history brief, but there is a lot to unpack here. The idea of marrying for love is relatively new. Marriage used to be about legal obligations and family allegiance and ownership. It wasn't the emotionally charged search for connection that we associate it with today. Love was seen as a manic condition that one should seek to resolve. Doctor, what's wrong with me? I'm afraid you're in love. There has been a major cultural shift in the last few hundred years where we pair up based on feelings of love and we commit many aspects of our lives to one person. But TV has been obsessed with creating couples long before Love is Blind came along. I remember when I was growing up, there was a lot of cheesy, not taking it very serious coupling up shows. But in the noughties, when reality TV was taking off, producers everywhere made it their mission to entertain the world using single people. The most mainstream of these is of course The Bachelor and its many spin-offs. This show tries to guide someone to meet the one in a competition format where they chip away at a group of people until the one remains. Apparently it doesn't have a high success rate, meaning that maybe a high-pressure competitive TV environment doesn't foster deep connection. One thing that I come back to often is this feeling that when you're on a TV show, you will behave differently and make decisions based on following through on an obligation that you signed up for. You know that experiment where a group of people are asked to answer some questions, and as it goes along, there's only one person who's not in on the gag, and basically everybody is purposefully answering wrong, and they're sitting there like, well, maybe I should change my answers to reflect what everyone else thinks. And it's kind of about like going with the crowd. That has an effect in real life in so many ways. Like, I myself have done that. The millennial urge to just people please and not let anyone down is strong. There are shows where you meet someone by dating their mum, or you pick a date based on a menu, or you wrestle an engagement ring out of a shark's mouth and then use that engagement ring to propose to the shark's owner. Make the shark show, you cowards. But even the concept of marrying sight unseen is not new. It really annoyed me every time they said sight unseen. I just find that so clinical and cold. In the UK, about 10 years ago, there was actually a show that matched people and prepared a wedding for them before they saw or spoke to each other. There was no communication at all. They literally met each other for the first time at the altar. In the show, one couple had a really awkward initial reaction, but they stuck it out, moved in together. I was going to say got married. No, they got married. Then they moved in and the relationship worked so well and now they have kids. Another couple on that show had a really strong physical reaction to each other at the altar. They were so excited. They were clearly physically attracted to each other. But then it fell apart almost immediately. They didn't make it past like the first 4 weeks of marriage. I think this is interesting because I think it supports the concept that soulmates are not destiny, that they are in fact created. We see this in media in the likes of Monica and Chandler in Friends, where the way they came together is not because they felt destined to, it was because they wanted to, and then slowly through time a love grew, and they work on it and they make it really strong because of that bond, not because of some sort of destiny.
I don't think that you and I were destined to end up together. I think that we fell in love and we work hard at our relationship.
I think this is something that TV reality love shows are trying to address. This whole concept of when the world is just a swipe away, then you'll always be able to find someone better. And I really support the idea that there's not only one person out there for everyone. I think everybody meets lots of people in their lives who they connect with on a deep level and could have a good relationship with. And your choice to choose that person and to work on that relationship is the strongest form of love. I should have my own dating show, but I'm single, and with this couple out there, who's gonna listen to me? These guys are coming up with Love is Blind and The Ultimatum. Love is Blind is an experiment where 15 men and 15 women get to know each other without ever seeing each other. So you get to know someone and then you have the opportunity to propose to someone that you feel you have a deep connection with, purely on your interactions in these weird lap dance-esque booths. If you get engaged, you get to see each other, you leave this pod area and you go on a fun trip together, and in the space of a few weeks you have that holiday, you move in, you meet each other's families, and then it's time for the wedding. I mean, it is a sped up version of most love stories, but it's a shame because most people really like the getting to know you phase. I feel like the concept came from like a development meeting and some commissioners were just like, what are some sayings about love? Love hurts, better to have loved and lost, love is blind, love is blind. Let's test this. For me, it's not so much an experiment as it is a catchy title and a surefire way to start drama. An experiment would have controls and parameters in which to measure the results on. This has none of it, and at the end of the programme the hosts proclaim that love is blind, even though at the end of the show only 40% of contestants actually went through with the wedding. In fact, less than that, because I'm not even counting the one that didn't even have like a wedding. So it must be, wait till I do some quick math. It's about 24%? No, it's about 30%, I think. And there's very little about the experiment explained to the viewer. You just buy into the chaos. They never explain why the couple have to make a decision so soon. Like, why do they have to get married in 4 weeks? Because if love was truly blind, then they could just fall for each other through the pods, commit to being boyfriend and girlfriend, and then the show could pick up like 6 months or a year later to see if they're still together and what their plans are for the future. And the most obvious explanation as to why the show doesn't choose that route is because it has to create drama. It has to put pressure on the contestants to create something worth watching. Side note, I had my tarot read at the start of the year. I was going to do it as a video, and interestingly, I was told that my year was going to end in marriage, so perhaps this time next year, I'll be eating my words. But the whole pressure thing is what leads me to think, is this ethical? But it does seem like all the contestants understand what they're setting themselves up for. They talk about the stakes of this experiment all the time, but I'm not 100% sure that they're all emotionally prepared. Now, I don't blame anyone for not being emotionally prepared for something, because you don't know until you are in a situation of crisis or chaos how you're going to react to that. And I don't want anyone to think that all of the contestants should have known better, that they would have breakdowns on this TV programme. I mean, other than maybe they could have watched the last series, but I think sometimes you can think that you're in a really good place in life and then you discover actually you still have work to do. I felt deep sympathy for Danielle. I don't want to talk about the specifics of what happened to her because I don't want to spoil it, but I feel like she was one of the people who was most affected by the pressure of the show, and I think that she reacted in ways that were not typical for her, or ways that she just didn't even know how to deal with, because this is such a unique experience and there wasn't really any support, if you know what I mean. If she'd met her partner and had the time to get to know him, she might not have had all of these outbursts, because she might not have been thinking, oh my God, like I have to marry this person in 3 weeks. Like, do they even get me? Like, we're having a fight. Is this an indicator of bigger things? Like, am I okay? She just didn't have time to digest that. And from her partner's point of view, Nick, he's also going through something really crazy, and he's also trying to understand, like, how this works and trying his best. It's just really unfair, I think, to put these people through this, and that's why I'm worried that it's unethical. Some people have been asking how much involvement the crew on the show actually have, and we don't know, we never see them. So let's just say that the crew is completely not involved. They don't step in arguments, they don't encourage people or say like, keep going, it's fine. They are completely neutral and they are just true fly-in-the-wall documentarians. I think the contestants would still feel pressure. The venue's booked. You've got a date when you're getting married. You're tasting cake, you're picking out a dress, you're talking to your family about it. That puts pressure on you in ways that you don't realise. I mean, I've seen a lot of people plan weddings. It does not seem fun. In the show, the expectation is that you will reveal whether or not you want to get married to the other person when you're at the altar. I think this is a really interesting thing that they do because it puts more pressure on again. You would need to have the courage to say no in front of the entire world. I used to shoot wedding videos, and one of the most painful parts is how quiet the bride and groom are when they get up in front of everybody and say their I do's. Their vows were basically inaudible sometimes, and that was just people standing up in front of their friends and family. Imagine doing that with a whole camera crew there. And then on top of that, planning to say, I don't. I just feel like that would be a really difficult thing to bring yourself to do. Now, one couple did break up before the big day rolled around. I definitely feel that not getting married was the best decision for them. It was basically putting the needs of everyone else aside and doing what was best for their own well-being. Well, one person was on that wavelength. The other one was like, no, we can make this work. Stay, give me a chance. But when you learn what their differences were, you'll be like, dude, no. Anyway, power to the woman who called off her own engagement and said, fuck the process, this isn't worth the trauma. But she did also go on to be problematic and meddle in another relationship. Literally no one got off drama-free. I just think that this show, as an experiment, encourages people to behave in ways that they wouldn't normally. And rather than that being a spontaneous, inspiring, zest for life kind of way, it ends up being an emotionally damaged kind of way.
Emotional, damn it!
Some of the fights in the show are really hard to watch because you can see that the people are tired and stressed and have not had a chance to really think about what's going on. Anytime someone has doubt, there's just this big cloud over them going, you don't have time to think about it, you're getting married in 7 days. This man's body language alone is like a horror movie. I feel like I watched 11 hours of people in complete distress. So when these hosts, or should I say ghosts, because they were barely in the show, announced that they have another experimental program coming to Netflix, I was like, are unmarried people just a joke to you? The Ultimatum isn't out yet, but it is described as a show where they take a couple where one partner is ready to get married and the other is not. So they meet with other couples and they all mingle, and then they pair off with someone from another couple and live together for a while, and then decide whether they want to get married to their original spouse or go with someone else or just do nothing, I guess. And to echo some of the brilliant contestants in Love is Blind, everyone deserves someone who gives 100% and makes them feel loved. Why did my voice crack there? Everyone deserves someone who gives them 100% and makes them feel loved. So if your partner isn't ready for marriage, that's okay if they're 100% honest with you and they communicate this and they still make you feel loved. You can try and work on it, but if they can't come to a place where they want to marry you and you can't come to a place where you're willing to give up on marriage, then you can consider splitting up. I wouldn't recommend that you go and live with other people that you're attracted to see if that changes your mind. It's a recipe for disaster. Girl, I am ready to get married, but Ennis just isn't. You know, I am having the same problems with Mikey. Why don't we swap? What? Yeah, you live with Mikey and I'll live with Ennis. Why? What would that accomplish? Well, maybe they would learn to appreciate what they've got. How? Are you insufferable? Oh no, I'm marriage material. Right, so you're gonna convince my boyfriend to marry me by enticing him into a relationship with you? Couldn't you just have a conversation with him? No, we have to live together. Why? To take him out of his comfort zone, to put pressure on him, to break him down, to make him feel like the world is watching. Oh, yeah, right. Again, the contestants largely know what they're signing up for, I think. Unless it's like Too Hot to Handle. You know what my problem with Too Hot to Handle is? That these people turn up ready to party and hook up. Just let them, that's all they want. Who is this triangle to say that they have to form meaningful relationships? They clearly don't want or need a relationship right now. Why are you pairing up people from Canada and Australia? How is that relationship going to work outside of this villa? Which one of them is giving up their established life to pursue a connection that you forced them to have? I really hated the Too Hot to Handle idea. It disrespects people's autonomy. Anyway, I think that TV is obsessed with creating a narrative that you have to find the one. Because the idea that there's someone out there for all of us keeps us on our toes. We want to believe it because a relationship with a spouse is framed as the most important relationship of all. But I'm about to get real 2020s on y'all and say that the most important relationship you will ever have is with yourself. It's a cliche, I know, but it's so true. Don't for a second buy in to someone else's idea of a good relationship, someone else's milestones, and someone else's opinions. Focus on your own. Love is Blind is one of the most bonkers shows out there, and if you do choose to watch it, please don't get mad at the contestants, they are only human. Except this guy. He's apparently an animal.
We should be like on top of each other nonstop, right?
Anyway, I hope you enjoyed today's video. Please share it with your friends. My phone number will now be appearing on screen, and if you think I'm the one, call me. I will knock that thought right out of your head. See you next time.